How's it going, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you so much to each and every single one of you for helping this channel to become what it is. The channel does grow every day because of all of you. I deeply appreciate it for my fellow hobbyists across all the different collecting spaces, whether it's sports cards, jersey collecting, sneaker collecting, whatever have you. It's nice to have a little place where we can all go to kind of like get away from the everyday monotony and turmoil that life can be sometimes. So I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful to my eBay customers, my viewers, subscribers, friends, family, all of you. Forgive me, it's very early in the morning. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 7:02 a.m.
So I'm up a little early to make this video because it was in my mind to talk about this subject. But before I begin, of course, I have to do the shameless plug. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications, and check out my eBay store. The link is in the description box below, where I'm selling graded slabs, loose sports cards, and various other items from time to time. It really helps to support the channel, so thank you very much. I am no millionaire. I don't have money coming out of my ass like certain people do in these collecting spaces, and it's clear to me that there is a civil war going on, that there are clearly two factions going on in the sports card hobby. And yesterday was a prime example of what happens when the hobby, unfortunately, becomes co-opted by individuals who are actually trying to control the hobby for nothing more than profit. And I made a comment about this yesterday on a particular sports channel that I really, really like, because, I love their analysis and takes, because they come off as being true hobbyists, and that's blabbing about slabbing. Unfortunately, Teapot, who is part of the whole Cards HQ sports card investor, market movers, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, really got under my skin and got under a lot of other people's skin because of what they represent. And it's clear that there's two factions in this. And I'm wedged somewhere in the middle because I see it from two sides of the coin. However, the difference between me as an LLC and somebody like them guys, like Jeff Wilson and Teapot, is that I'm not all about profit. If I get a little money back out of the cards that I'm not interested in, and it makes somebody else happy, then so be it, man. I get a little money in my pocket. My customers get cards that they want at a discounted price. All is well in the universe. You know what I mean? What did I make in the last 90 days? I only made like $3,000. You divide that by 3, it's really not a lot. I do this to supplement my income. I've already discussed all that stuff here on the channel. I'm not going to get into it, but, as long as I stay within certain boundaries, either annually or monthly or a combination of both, I'm doing okie dokie, but I'm not here to make $1 million, and it keeps me busy. I'm here looking at myself in the camera. I'm like fixing myself because, I collect hats, I collect jerseys, I collect, Transformers toys. You've already seen my Optimus Prime, by far one of my favorite Optimus Primes. I collect, strange and weird stuff and controversial stuff. I happen to have a Cara Dune Gina Carano figure. Why do I have this? Well, if you've been watching the news, what's been going on when she did that beep pop boop thing in her profile, when she was actually part of the Mandalorian TV series for Star Wars, people attacked her because she put something in her profile that pissed off all of these freaking, strangely, oddly shaped fishhook in the cheeks, bull rings in her nose, those types, the leftist ilk. I don't want to drag politics into this, but I think you get the point. Like, it's ridiculous, But, I used to be part of these costume charity groups or volunteer groups that were meant to be by the fans for the fans. If you understand where the 501st originated from, I forgot what the guy's name was, the Godfather, the founder of the 501st, one of his kids was deathly ill. So him and his buddies got together and built their own Star Wars costumes. And, because the kid was a Star Wars fan, they did that for her. And the idea grew to like this global phenomenon. But unfortunately, my experience with them is that they've turned it into a political organization where they get free concert tickets, free entrance into Comic-Cons. If not, they get highly discount prices, as far as admission is concerned. They also get invited to sports events and all this crap, either for free or discounted. And God forbid, if you're somebody like me that speaks up in his own self-defense, that they will come after you and they will throw you out because, you decided to stand up for what's right and to protect yourself. And if people aren't willing to stand by your side, they're not your friend and your brother. And that's why I fucking hate those groups. What does this all have to do with sports cards? Because that idea is in the same where there are people out there that take these fan hobbies and try to control it. It's supposed to be for everyone. You know what I mean? Like when Teapot talked about, or actually I should say it's not just Teapot, but a lot of the guys. Like I'm not bashing, Scotty B or the rest of the guys. It's just having Teapot in that little group is aggravating, and everybody attacked him. He was getting ripped to shreds in the comments section, and rightfully so, because look at what they promote. He mentioned these two cards. I happen to have those two cards. The Shohei Ohtani batting rookie, the Bowman Chrome, and the star rookie Ken Griffey Jr., both in PSA 10s. So who are you kidding? When I have the very cards that they were talking about in that live stream. And I made a YouTube short because Teapot blocked me. And every time I tried to comment and the thing, this is just a bunch of words, I couldn't post, which means he blocked me. I tried to recant twice. I couldn't do it. Because on YouTube, when somebody blocks you and you try to comment, your comment is automatically thrown into the void. It's gone. What a coward he is. So as a result, I left a YouTube short on my channel with these two very cards, trying to stick them into my gas tank. That was the point, that this is not necessity. Okay, if you're investing, and that fucking term gets me angry to no end. All right, you can't stick these in your gas tank. And I physically did that on the channel yesterday, where I open up my fucking the hatch on my gas tank to my car, and I'm trying to stick these into the into the gas tank and try to prove a point that this is not necessity. All right, this is a hobby. This is collecting, and it's turned into something else, just like this. Thank God they flooded the market with these, because if you bought this, through a third party, you're an idiot. Even with myself, even though some time passes by with some of the things that I sell on eBay, I try to be reasonable and I come down on my prices. Even this morning, I woke up, there was somebody that was interested in the Missing Link CL1 Optimus Prime, aka Convoy from Takara Tomy. So I have it on sale for $139. I think it's going for like $140, $150. So I threw a 10% offer to the potential customer to see if they would accept. I think retail, it was like $119, but I also uploaded a video or a short or whatever it was about me having to pay like $5 just to find a proper box to ship it in. So I got to try to recover that cost. I mean, I think that's only fair as a seller. So I bumped up the price by like 20 or $25, past retail, whatever it is. But like I said, they're going for like 150, whatever it may be. So, I'm trying to be reasonable here. If I can at least get my money back in some form or another, that's fine. But I'm not trying to rape somebody for $200 to $300 like what you see on eBay with some of these idiots. I look at the Enterprise G from Fan Home. I wanted one of them. I'm not paying somebody $200 or something or something that costs $95 or whatever it is. And it just came out recently. It's absurd and ridiculous, man. And that happens with sports cards as well. Oh, the Pokemon TCG space, forget it. But clearly, with all this being said, there are two factions in this little civil war that's going on right now in the sports card hobby. And I'm in the middle somewhere. Again, I look at it from both sides. But I tend to lean more towards the sentimental value of this argument than the monetary value, because you get priced out. I'm fortunate. You know what it took for me to get these two cards alone? And that doesn't include the other cards that I got in PSA 10s. Like the Don Mattingly rookie from Topps. That was no easy task to get that card. And you don't see them popping up on eBay that often. So I'm quite fortunate to have that card. It's like a Jackson Merrill gold shimmer out of 50 that I have. That's an auto. That thing is going for like $4,000 on eBay right now. I didn't pay that. You know, I got it for way cheaper. But that's the point in all of this. Thank God I got some of the cards that I did when I did. Because, yeah, with demand and or scarcity, it will cause a fervor. You know, scarcity and or demand will drive prices up. Somebody tried to rub it in my face about, you know, Aaron Judge. Yeah, I'm a Yankees fan. I got that. I have his Bowman Chrome prospect card. You know, the refractor version of that card, you know, and that's the card I think I showed on the channel where it was in an SGC holder and I sent it back to SGC to have it reholdered, came back at 10 again, you know, and that thing is going for over $1,000. I paid $200 for mine because the holder was broken. I don't think the owner knew what they had. So I got lucky, plain and simple. But, you know, with all that being said, you know, the sentimental value is being sucked out of everything. And when you got, and I want to make sure I make this clear because, you know, there are times I know I cross the line with my commentary. I'm not going to deny it, you know, because, you know, a lot of us are frustrated with stuff like this. When you have guys like Teapot and Jeff Wilson, and Sports Card Radio was right to call this out, you know, kudos to them and kudos to anybody that calls these people out. I think there's another channel that's really been roasting Jeff Wilson and Teapot, and I think it's John Sports Cards. I just recently subscribed to his channel, and he's been roasting Cards HQ and all that for this live streaming they've been doing recently, where I'm sure all of these giveaways, Cards HQ probably and allegedly got for free, and they're just kind of like passing it on because they can't make money off of it themselves. And that's essentially what it is. It's taking the junk that nobody else wants and just passing it on to an unsuspecting victim, to a noob, you know? And they do it for the kids. Bullshit. What I got over there is for the kids. There's 3 boxes of flagship commons that most guys would probably throw in a dumpster. I find that to be disgusting. I'd rather give them away to the neighborhood kids where I live because they're kids, you know? And if I can't do anything with them, why throw that out? Money was spent on them, you know, and even though there are still probably a lot of good players in them boxes, in them cards, let the kids have them at least, or give them to a church. Don't throw them out in a dumpster. I think that's really shitty. But anyway, you definitely have 2 factions. You got the sentimental collectors that want this stuff because they want this stuff. It's like me with Nike Air Jordan sneakers. You guys have seen this on the channel. I actually have them sitting right here. 2 pairs of sneakers that, you know, I occasionally repaint and all that stuff. That's the Nike Air Jordan 3 Tinker Hatfields. And these are my 2016 Nike Air Jordans, which I did, I think, a pretty decent paint job on to at least get them to look presentable. And they're still very wearable. Why am I going to throw these out? I wanted them because I grew up with Nike Air Jordans. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get the 3s and 4s when I was a younger kid, but we did get Jordans and Nikes, you know, whatever my dad can afford because we went through hard times as a family. And that's kind of where I'm at. When you go through hard times and your family doesn't have money and your parents can't afford to buy you fancy, expensive stuff. I mean, Jesus, man, my dad bought the Intellivision. I went with my dad out in Long Island when he was alive, when I was a little turd, to go out and buy the Intellivision. And we played that thing for years. You know what I mean? Even when the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and even when the Super Nintendo came out, we played that damn Intellivision. My dad was so resistant for us to get the NES because of how much it cost, because he didn't have the money at that time, you know, and we were only allowed to play the Intellivision for only maybe like an hour or 2 apiece because of the electric bill. And this is a period in time where my dad was literally cleaning toilets in restaurants and sweeping bars just to make ends meet to feed us. God bless you, Pop, by the way. You know what I mean? So I'm in that category where you appreciate every fucking little morsel and every crumb. And with all the things that I've gone through and a lot of the things I've discussed here on the channel, even what happened recently, I don't want to keep regurgitating the same stuff, but I have to drive this point home that there are people that are out there that once they reach this privileged point, they tend to flex so bad. And now all of a sudden, if you ever watched the episode of Married with Children when Al has like money, him and what's his name, Steve, they're fighting over money between each other, and at the end of the episode, Al finally gives up, so he pulls the money out of his pocket and he waves it around. Then the kids come down the steps along with Peg, and they're like, did you smell that? And that's what these people do with Jeff Wilson and Teapot. That's the best visual I can give you. Once they start waving around money, everybody kisses their asses. And it takes away from the sentimental value of collecting. Everything becomes a dollar sign. Like, I compared him to Billy Mays recently. You know, where people that want this stuff can't get it because the things have been artificially pumped up. Look what happened with the Paul Skeens 1 of 1 patch auto from last year with Topps Chrome. I was fortunate enough to get those boxes at the prices I did, even though I kind of went out of my way to get a couple boxes off of the shop app and paid, I think, 1.5 times more for some of the mega boxes that I bought that I ripped on camera here. I mean, it's out of control that everything gets pumped up and pumped up and pumped up to the point where it's like ordinary collectors can afford this stuff. And try to imagine, everybody wants to hide behind children. Imagine a young kid that wanted a Paul Skeens card. He can't get it because, thank you to the grown-ups for taking away a kid's childhood. And you see this shit in the Pokemon TCG space where grown men are going into Costco fist fighting over cards that are truly meant for kids. But they have to make their YouTube content so that this way they can get, they can get paid by YouTube through advertising or whatever the hell. And plus the resale value, especially if they go to PSA and get their cards slabbed. You see where all of this kind of falls apart? Why people in these hobbies are pissed? And I'm kind of camp sentimental value because I get it. I don't have like thousands and thousands of dollars. Again, it took me a while to put together enough money to get these. And these were not easy to come by either at the prices that I got them for. And now a card that I paid $1,700 for is going for about $2,500. Him, probably about $1,700, anywhere between $1,400 to $1,700, about the same price that I paid for this. It's out of control, man. And people that want this stuff can't get it. And I'm fortunate enough that I grinded and saved enough money that I was able to buy 2 high-end cards like this. But what about the average Joe who works 24 hours, who works 35 to 40 hours a week, does a blue collar job or white collar, whatever have you, and you're only making enough to, get by, and you see all this cool stuff, and just before you can reach out to grab it, it's gone. And then resold for 2x, 3x, 4x. I get the fact that scarcity and demand drives prices up, but it reaches a point where, like, if you're somebody like Teapot and Jeff, allegedly, that are out there constantly trying to sell you something, it's like selling you a slap chop. Remember the slap chop? It's like all the other bullshit that you see here on YouTube that's being hawked, and being thrown in our faces, Obviously, now they're trying to get rid of ad blockers on YouTube, like what they did with uBlock recently. It's constantly trying to sell you shit. And it's like, man, enough already. I want a baseball card. I'm a collector. I just want this thing, and I want to be left alone. I don't want nothing to do with all this drama and all this crap. But that's what's happening, unfortunately. It's clear that the two camps are going at it, and I'm wedged somewhere in the middle, but I do lean more towards a sentimental argument of all of this stuff because people can't afford this shit. People just want to open up a box of cards, sometimes with their kids, or, you may be an older fellow that's retired. Maybe you're a widower, and this is what keeps you occupied. It keeps you happy. It keeps your mind going. It puts you in a good space, or it takes you out of depression and anxiety, and you want to open up a box of Topps Chrome, and you can't because it's ripped out of your hand by some LCS or some fat fuck or a Teapot or a Jeff Wilson, And because of the way they've been pumping up and it's the sponsors and the ads, not for nothing, baseball cards, Transformers, sneakers. Well, footwear and clothing is an exception. If it's just regular clothing and it's not stuff like this, I'm fortunate enough, again, that I can afford this kind of stuff. But footwear and clothes have a little asterisk because, without clothes and footwear, you can't walk around without clothes outside. That goes into the category of necessity, but you don't need jerseys to survive. I mean, I got plenty of t-shirts that I wear off camera and all that kind of stuff that you don't see. For a lot of the time that I'm making my videos, I do this because I'm a collector. But outside that, I don't wear jerseys 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It gets old after a while, and it starts to look the same. Even I have to admit, especially the Adidas jerseys, it's like they look the same after a while. And I like to change it up. So I got plenty of other shirts that I wear. But I think you understand the point where it's like, this is not necessity. No one needs this. Just like no one needs this. That's the point. And the two camps that are arguing this point, we're talking about grown men trying to control something that was rightfully meant for kids. And yes, I get a lot of us as adults, we are fans of things. I'm an obvious fan of Bayern Munich. I am an obvious fan of the New York Mets and Yankees and New York Giants. I am a fan of Transformers. And because of demand, that's what makes the market go around. That's capitalism for you. But it gets to such a point that as soon as a thing comes out, immediately here come the vultures to scoop all of that product out of the market. And you got guys, again, allegedly like Jeff Wilson and Teapot and everybody in Cards HQ where they have fucking studios, they have employees, they got that big store that they got. I don't have a big store. I do everything right out of my home. This desk cost me $150 on Amazon. I'm a one-man show. I make all my YouTube videos on my own. I edit them on my own, even though the editing is very, very minuscule because there's not much to my videos because there's really nothing fancy at all. It's just a camera pointing at me and me talking. I don't have a crew. I don't have a staff. I do everything by myself. If I don't hop in my car when I make some orders, I take a walk to the post office and then I do my food shopping at the same time because why not? You know what I mean? And I'll buy stuff like this, not sponsored. But it's just reached this point of absurdity where everything needs to be sold and priced and have price tags on them. I mean, Jesus, man, it's annoying and frustrating that every single little thing has to have a goddamn advertisement or a sales pitch attached to it. And that's where a lot of us are getting fed up with seeing this kind of crap go on in the hobby. Professor Sports Card Radio, Dan the Card Man calls out a lot of stuff. Now this John Sports Cards, I think, and forgive me if that's not the name of the channel, he calls this bullshit out. I'm calling it out now. A lot of people are getting tired of it. I just got back into the hobby last year. I will never claim to be an expert in any way, shape, or form. I'm learning as I'm going along. I grew up with a lot of this stuff. I never had a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie. All right, I opened up a handful of packs when I was a kid. I lost interest when I was a kid because I was too busy trying to get into the heavy metal grunge stuff when my hair was down to here, dressing in weird clothes, having an eyebrow pierced, looking like one of them skateboarder nut jobs that are out there. But obviously now I've grown up, and got away from all that crap many moons ago. Oh my God, it's funny, just a little side note here. My mother sent me photos of myself, what I look like with the ponytail and everything. Oh, geez. At least I can make fun of myself. The crazy biker leather pants and all that shit. It's like, Jesus, man. Yeah, but I'm now grown up, almost 50 years old, and you can laugh at yourself now when you see this kind of thing. But anyway, with all that being said, it's just, the whole point is that not everything has to have a dollar value attached to it. And the hobby is being sucked dry of its sentimental value. It doesn't hold sentimental value anymore because you got these vultures circling around waiting for the next thing to come out so that this way they can flip it, resell it, pump it, dump it, whatever. It's just ridiculous, man. And to see Teapot, blocking me and deleting my comment that I left, where you literally cannot stick these cards in a gas tank. Look what happened with the Paul Skeens 101 patch auto. Everybody lost their collective shit. And it's because of things like that have made this hobby almost intangible, I think is a word. I hope that's a word. You can't obtain it. It's unobtainium, basically. I can't stick these in my gas tank. All right? I can't swipe this at the ATM machine when I need to pay my bills. These people don't get it. Not everybody can afford this stuff, especially now. If you were able to get it when things were cheap, and everybody used the China virus as an excuse. Of course. They need something to hide behind. Like a lot of people use kids to hide behind their bullshit. Now they're using COVID as an excuse. Give me a break. You're grown-ass men. You're fucking grown-ass men. Jesus. And I think it's only going to get worse as time goes on, where collectors are just going to say enough is enough. You know, they're going to starve these people. And because this is not a necessity like food or drink when you go to a supermarket, they have to continue to pump themselves. And this is where Jeff Wilson and Teapot are exposed. They are not a necessity. We don't need baseball cards. We don't need football cards. What we need is food in our stomachs. We need clothing to wear. Those are necessities. This is a guilty pleasure. Period. End of fucking story. I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Take care, everybody.